Yeah, so I feel like this IU OSU game is a pivotal one for all of our contracts because it changes how we're going to view subsequent games later on.
Yeah, exactly. So like if Ohio State beats Indiana that game, Ohio State's contract hopefully jumps up to at least 50 cents. We sell that. Indiana might go down to like 34 or something. And then the hope is that Indiana has a really strong second half.
Welcome to Saturday versus Sunday. I'm John Barbin. With me is Jeff Dover, and we're talking college football.
We're a couple of football fans that watch college NFL. We hope to earn your like and subscribe today. This is our review of our Big Ten Championship Kalshi Portfolio. What are your initial thoughts?
All right, so we have less total teams in this one than we do for the Big 12 or the ACC. Those seem to be a bit more wide open. Even the SEC, we had seven choices.
Yep.
Here we've got, or 7 positions. Here we only have 5.
Yeah.
And again, we don't expect these teams to win it. We expect, or we hope, there is enough people that want to bet on these teams to bet them up throughout the year as their seasons progress. So it's a little thinner here.
We've got 5 teams, 5 positions, 5 contracts that say, yes, these teams are going to win the Big Ten Conference Championship. We know that 5 teams can't win. There's going to only be one winner. But these prices were lower than we thought. And we think they're going to go up at some point during the season. And so that's our discussion today is what do we think? Looking at their schedule now, when do we think we're going to unload some of these positions?
Right. So I'm wearing Indiana, Jeff's wearing Ohio State. So let's start with the defending national champs. And I'm just looking at their schedule here. And the obvious turning point, not for their season, but for our portfolio, might be the Ohio State game on October 17th.
Yeah, exactly. I think that most likely looking at their schedule, since they've got North Texas, Howard, Western Kentucky, Northwestern, Rutgers, Nebraska, I think it's highly likely they'll be 6-0 at that point.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be ranked probably in the top 10. They're the returning, defending national champions.
Yep.
And so I think that our stock in them at that point, prior to the Ohio State game, could be pretty high. So we might unload it before that, depending on what we think it's going to look like playing Ohio State, because they could always lose that game. Right. And then in which case I would most likely the stock would go down. So if they, if it's high before that Ohio State game, that might be a good time to unload.
Right. And so we'll have to see if it moves in our favor. Again, we don't know. This is the first time doing this.
Mm-hmm.
We might just get rid of it before that game. Now, going into that game, let's say it hasn't moved much. We probably just hold on to it because we know now a 10-2 team can get into the championship game. It doesn't have to be 11-1 versus 12-0 or whatever.
Oh, exactly.
Like it used to be. If they hang in there with Ohio State, which I think they should, there's no reason to think these two teams aren't going to be equal
Mm-hmm.
strength, so to speak. Not after last year's performance. Obviously, Josh Hoover's a bit of an unknown, at least on this team. But overall, the talent should be there. I think they'll be competitive. So if they being Indiana is just as competitive as Ohio, like they're equal looking teams in this game, even if Indiana loses, that's not a bad thing, I don't think, for our portfolio. We'll probably have to hold them basically to the end there to see if they get through Michigan, Minnesota, like get through the rest of the schedule.
Yeah.
But I think their performance in that game, win or lose, is going to have a big factor into if their contract moves up or down.
Yeah, I think if they play Ohio State, if they win, obviously, I think it would go up. If they play well, I think it could go up. And that also might be a time to unload it after that game, because at Michigan is not, depending on what Michigan looks like at that point, we'll know a lot more about Michigan 6 games in.
Yeah.
But depending on what they look like, that might be a good time to unload that one. And if we don't unload it at that one, then yes, we're probably holding off to the end. Maybe they've got USC at home. Not sure what that's going to look like. But what's really great is that, the teams I'm not sure what they're going to look like USC or Washington. They're later on in the schedule. So we'll have a better idea of what that team's going to look like. So yeah, I feel pretty good about just in terms of Kalshi, the Ohio State is the favorite to win the Big Ten championship, but Oregon and Indiana are tied for second, essentially, according to the odds at the time when we purchased it.
Right. So yeah, 2 potential spots. Instead of holding it all the way to the end, the 2 obvious potential spots are the OSU game or the USC game, where if this contract moves in our favor, we're thinking those are two spots where it could move significantly in the regular season. All right. Well, you want to move on to Ohio State then?
Sure.
All right. Well, not the same thing here. We do have a major out of conference game, second week of the season, Texas. Now, everybody knows that game has nothing to do with winning the Big Ten championship, and these contracts are for winning the Big Ten championship. But we're talking about sentiment here. We're talking about what people think Ohio State is going to do. So, to me, the obvious thing is if they beat Texas, my guess is the contract goes up, just because it shows they're a powerful team that can beat a favorite for the national championship.
Yeah, and I think that, again, so we talked about this in our last review. Go back and listen to the Big 12 one if you haven't done that already. But it was the way that we're new to Kalshi. We're not exactly sure how this is going to work. But I remember seeing the portfolio before the Seattle Rams game in the NFC Championship, and it was like 52 or 54% for the Seattle and like 46% for the Rams. And so in the back of my mind, if we get to 50 or over, that's going to be probably a really good time to sell. And Ohio State's at like 32 cents at the time of purchase. They could easily get to 50 cents if they beat Texas, I think. Like, so that would be something that we would definitely think about, because I don't know how much higher it would get later on. Like, there's a lot of games that have to happen in Oregon and, Michigan and stuff at the end that could change. But that might be something we look at.
Yeah, because if they beat Texas and it moves the contract significantly in our favor, Kent State, Illinois, Iowa, Maryland, unless something really bad happens, they should win all those games. So the next game that could influence their contract to us is the Indiana game. And then they go on a brutal stretch here of Indiana, USC, Oregon in a row. So obviously, if they run the table through those three, I'm sure the contract will shoot up, because those are the three of the toughest, and then Michigan, right? So in conference. So we may not want to hold this contract to the Indiana game. Like, we don't kind of want to have both of those contracts needing that game to go in our favor. Or like we said, when we were talking about Indiana, both of the teams look strong. So even no matter who wins, it's still a quality win-loss for either team. I mean, the other thought here is the Texas game could influence the Indiana portfolio, or the Indiana pick. If Ohio State beats Texas, Texas looks strong throughout the rest of their schedule. Then IU takes OSU to the wire. And then you have that transitive property where, OSU beat Texas. Texas is killing everyone in the SEC, and IU and OSU look like equal teams. So there's that Texas, if they beat Texas and Texas looks strong, that could actually feed the strength of IU, depending on this game. But I'd almost rather, now I'm talking myself into not wanting holding both of these contracts at the time of this game. And it seems like it's more likely with the Texas win. It's more, I'm guessing, again, we don't know. I'm guessing this contract will have moved in our favor with Ohio State, and we might not even want to hold it at this game.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think if we have Ohio State and Indiana at the time of that game, I think whoever wins will probably unload, and then the loser we're going to have to hold on to pretty much no matter what. I think if we have both going into that game.
Right. Yeah.
And the other thing I like about the Ohio State schedule there, that's a really important stretch for them, right? At Indiana, at USC, and then Oregon at home. That's going to be tough. What really helps too is they've got a bye week in between the Indiana and USC game. So that'll be interesting too, to see, like, because these contracts can move in game, bye weeks, whenever they're playing, when they're not playing, you know what I mean? So, excuse me, that'll be, that bye week might be something we look at too.
Yeah, so I feel like this IU OSU game is a pivotal one for all of our contracts, because it changes how we're going to view subsequent games later on. So do you want to move on to, you actually brought up a really good point. If we're holding both at this game, we're for sure selling one, and probably holding the winner we're selling, and the loser we're probably holding to the end, because they're going to need to, quote unquote, recover from this game, probably for sentiment to getting to the Big Ten championship game, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, like, if Ohio State beats Indiana that game, Ohio State's contract hopefully jumps up to at least 50 cents. We sell that. Indiana might go down to like 34 or something. And then the hope is that Indiana has a really strong second half and then is now going to play Ohio State in the championship game.
Right.
And before that game should be close to like 50 cents, right? And then in which case we'd unload it before the game. And then that way we've unloaded both of them at 50 cents and we're up on both at least, right?
Yeah, so. And a key thing there is Indiana does not get Oregon in the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State does get Oregon after the Indiana game, but the whole thing for Indiana to me revolves around that Ohio State game. We're either selling them or keeping them to the end.
Yeah. No, and Oregon has a really interesting schedule too.
Yeah, let's move on to
them. When I was looking at them, I think that one of the important games is going to be the game 4 at USC. So, because they got Boise State, Oklahoma State, Portland State first, then at USC. If they win that one, that might be another time where we look at unloading it at that point, depending what the price is.
Yeah, so that could work in our favor, getting it off of our books before all of these teams start crossing over against each other.
Mm-hmm.
If it moves, we don't know if it moves. That's the first big test. That's the first conference game too, right? Yeah.
Yes.
And it's their first big test. I guess if it doesn't move much, the next spot is the OSU game. Like then we're holding it to the OSU game because if they run through SC, UCLA, Nebraska, Illinois, Northwestern, none of those are data points other than the USC game that I think will budge this contract much in the eyes of anybody else buying these contracts, right?
Yeah, I'm interested to see what budges the contract because we've already seen at time of recording Penn State, we've got a position on Penn State as well
to make the quarterfinals,
and that went up and then went down, right? Yeah. And who knows why? That's just people because this is market driven, right? Like this is people driven, so it's not just the lines on games a month from now, could change just based on what the bookmakers make, but this is the public, so.
Yeah. Well, and all of this, let's qualify. All of this is assuming no catastrophic injuries to like a quarterback where the whole thing just changes, right? Which it'll kill it for that team, but it'll probably blow up the contract for their closest competitor, so to speak, right? Like, so that obviously we can't account for that. Nobody can account for injuries, but assuming everyone stays healthy and sort of plays as expected,
So another thing too, just with that Oregon, if they beat USC, again, they've got a very manageable schedule after that for a few weeks, right? Because they got UCLA at home, Nebraska at home, at Illinois, Northwestern, and then there's the big one at Ohio State in the beginning of November. So that's another one. If depending on what happens, if the Oregon position doesn't move that much at USC, then before the Ohio State game might be the time where I want to unload it because I don't know. That would be the highest it would be. It might go up if they beat Ohio State, but then obviously it would go down if they lost, most likely. So,
right. So it's another one where at that game, no, it might not affect what we do with the Ohio State contract, but it's probably affecting. It's a big time effect on what we do with the USC contract. We're assuming.
Yeah.
Because after that they have Michigan, Michigan State, Washington. I mean, obviously, if they beat Ohio State, I'm assuming things are going really well and they're going to be favored in those final 3 games.
We'll know a lot more about right now. We don't know, and most people don't know too much about Michigan or Washington, how they're going to look. So we'll know more because those are like the last and third last game of the season. So it could be that the Ohio State if Ohio State's the only super challenging game on their schedule, then I would lean toward like unloading it before that game because then they don't have a chance to increase it that much afterwards, right? If they lose. So that's another way to look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wonder if it's just accumulation of wins too. Like even if they drop the OSU game, and they beat USC, drop OSU, they're still going to no one's going to think they're going to miss out on the Big Ten championship game at that point.
Right. If they've got one conference loss, it'd be unlikely for them not to be in the Big Ten championship game.
See, this could come down to multiple teams with a 10-2 conference record.
Yes.
And we've got a tie break somewhere in there that's going to determine it, which then we might actually be holding multiple contracts almost to the end here. Again, we don't want more than 2 contracts going into the final game. That the goal here, just like all of our other conference championship bets, the goal is to be approaching the final week of the season with what we hopefully think are the 2 highest potential contracts, and basically offloading one before that final week.
Yep.
And so we're hopefully keeping the one that we think is going to be the strongest team going. Well, I guess through the final week, we could still keep 2 if we think we've got the 2 that are going to make the championship game.
Yeah, let's say Ohio State and Oregon are going to be in the championship game. Okay. So if Ohio State beats Texas and their contract gets to 50 cents, it's game 2, we should sell that then. And then if we hold Oregon, because they only, they might not play a ranked team like until the November. And so we could just keep that all the way up until the Big Ten championship game, and it's 50 cents going into the game. Then we unload it then, right? And then we're up on both before the game's even played, right? So,
and then what's our goal? To unload one of the contracts during the game at a profit?
We don't actually hold the yes contract for the winner. Like, that's one way to do this, right?
Well, but if we somehow end up with the 2 teams in the championship game,
yes,
then the goal is to somehow profit on both by exiting one of them during the game before, or I guess going into the game. They both will have moved up from where we've got them by then.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my point. So like if Oregon State after game 2 or Ohio State after game 2, they beat Texas and the contract goes up 50 cents, we unload it then, right? Because that's as high in far as I can tell, that's as high as it's going to get right before the championship game. And then if Oregon right up until kickoff, the championship game is 50 cents because before the game, it's sort of 50-50 who's good, because no one would be heavily favored. Then we unload it then. And so that we've made money on both, because we don't want to wait until through the game. Like unless we want to, you want to gamble, like if Oregon gets the coin flip or gets the kickoff, and then we see if they go up like 3-0 or something and then unloaded it. But I mean, I don't.
Now you're really gambling.
Yeah, I know. So I don't, so anyway, but that was my thought. If we can unload both when they get to the 50 cent point, then we're up on both. So,
all right. So let's look at, who do you want to look at next? USC?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
This one to me is our most interesting one because on the portfolio, it's the cheapest, right? So it's like or second cheapest because Michigan's like, but it's 10 cents. So if USC can have, a good start, they could be good this year. And they have the San Jose State, Fresno State, Louisiana at Rutgers, so they could have a Big Ten win in there, so they could be 4-0 before the Oregon game, and that it could go up. It could go up to 20 or 30 cents or something, and maybe we unload it at that point.
Okay, I just had a thought here. So I'm in California, and you can't bet on sports in California online with FanDuel or any of those things.
Yeah,
but you can do Kalshi.
Correct.
So people who want to get in on the game here that are in California, that are UC alumni or UC fans, their only option is one of these type of prediction markets.
Correct.
So maybe we get movement and liquidity on USC for no other reason than people, at least in California, don't have another option. This is how they have to put money on them if they want to put money on them.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think you're right.
So again, a lot of these things we've got 1, maybe 2 games where we think these contracts are going.
Yeah. Well, in USC, they have a tough schedule, right? One of the toughest in the Big Ten, and that's part of the reason why the contract's so low, because they got to play Oregon, Washington, Ohio State, and Indiana. So and at Wisconsin is never an easy trip. So that's a really tough stretch there. But again, if we don't need them to win necessarily, right? If they're like looking good going into that game, that might be enough.
Yeah, they have there'll be 3 games here they won't be favored: Oregon, OSU, and Indiana, I think. Like if things unfold as we would expect, they're going to be their 3 toughest games. So this is another one where, depending on what happens in that Oregon game, this contract's going or we're keeping it for a while.
Yeah, the only thing that's good here in terms of that schedule is that Oregon, Washington, and Ohio State all play at USC, right? The only road one there is at Indiana, which is the second last one. Third last one.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, again, I still think at time of recording, Oregon at USC. Oregon would probably be favored even at USC.
So this one and the Michigan one have our highest upside, right?
Yeah,
the
exactly.
The biggest room to grow. Michigan's even bigger.
Yeah, it is.
But I think between Michigan and USC, I trust USC more to make a real move here.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. But this one, this whole portfolio seems to unfold pretty okay with just the 5 teams. This would get really complicated if we started adding in Washington or Penn State. And I know Penn State might have been a value pick for some people because people think their schedule's pretty easy. And at 10-2, they likely can, make the playoffs. And there might be a way for them to get into the championship game if some of these other teams beat up on each other.
Yeah.
But we just didn't want to go there. So we'll see.
The price was too high. It was already starting high. So it didn't make sense. So no, and the Michigan, like, listen, they're a long shot, technically, according to the Kalshi Portfolio, rightfully so.
Are we going to move on to Michigan here then?
Yeah, move on to Michigan. But like the Whittingham's really good. Like it's his first year there. That's going to be tough. They play Oklahoma second game of the season. And that could be one of those cases where if they play them really well, then they've got UTEP. I think they could beat Iowa at home, at Minnesota, that Penn State at home, and then it's a game against Indiana. So at that point, they could be undefeated in Big Ten play before the Indiana game, and in which case it's got to move from 6 cents. Like it's got to go up from there, And that's the kind of thing, like if it went to like 18 cents or something, that'd be 3 times the return, like that'd be like $100 bet would be like $300. You know what I mean? So so that one we have to really watch, because if it gets to like 15, 12 cents or 18 cents, like that's a big deal. So
right. So that OU game, just like the Texas Ohio State game, these are 2 more data points that do those non-conference games affect a contract for the conference championship. We'll find we've got 3 of those going on, 3 or 4 of those going on in the SEC. Right, like the Texas Ohio State game for LSU, the Texas Clemson, side, LSU Clemson.
Go back and listen to our SEC Kalshi portfolio if you haven't already.
And this OU Michigan game for OU. So there's a few going on. The other couple of these cross over, and we'll find out if these out of conference games budge the needle on a contract to win a conference championship. My guess is there could be early excitement if Michigan looks good here. Because there's questions, especially after Underwood had that stupid news conference where he said the OSU game is just another game. I don't think Michigan fans want to hear that. I know he's trying to downplay it and it's we're in control. It doesn't matter who we're playing. It matters about we take care of our business. But come on, Julian Sayin said yes, that game matters a lot. Like you have to say, even if you don't really believe it, you got to say it because that's what the fans believe. Like
that's what you're supposed to say about like Rutgers or Minnesota or something. Say like, so you don't we don't want to take your foot off the gas. This is another game like every other game. They're all important. That's what you'd say to that. You don't have to say that about a rivalry game. Well, you can say that it's like this one means a little more. That's fine.
Yeah. Doesn't mean you're looking past the other games before it. It just means you understand that and he's from Detroit. How does he? I don't know. I feel like, especially now with NIL and you get paid millions of dollars to represent the school, the team, the fans, the alumni, all of that. You can't write the script how you want it. You get paid to be a part of the script that they want.
It's a good point.
In their script, their star quarterback making $10 million better be in on this game as much as we are.
Yeah.
Like this isn't the NFL.
No, being a quarterback in Division I is tough. Like there's a lot of fans, a lot of fan pressure. And that was before NIL, and so now when you're paying someone millions of dollars and they have a bad game, they're going to be extra pissed, So.
Yeah, they have even more ownership of kind of you. It's like, you're here, you're from here, for Christ's sakes. You better care about this game because we all do. So, and you lost this game and you got thumped and you look terrible. You threw for 60 yards. Like you're between the two of you, you and Julian Sayin in these back-to-back interviews. Sayin's the one in the position to say it's just another game. You are not.
So, and just the one last thing about Penn State, because we didn't get that one because it was too much. It was too high already, and everyone says it's a pretty easy schedule. They've got Michigan and USC on the schedule, so how they look, because we don't know really what Michigan and USC are going to look like this year. So that's really going to determine a lot, right? So, because if they're good, this changes a lot of stuff. So
yeah, and that's the what is everyone else doing factor. Like what if Washington's really strong this year? They could be, some of these positions could be moving around because Washington is a quality team that if Washington goes 10-2, and a couple of the teams we have positions on here beat them, they're the two wins that could move the portfolio up if Washington really shows up here. So I don't think we left anybody out that's worth having. I mean, these are the ones that I think people are going to be moving on. Like, obviously, fan bases are going to be interested in their own teams, but I think a UCLA fan understands, like, I'm not putting on money on UCLA to win that Big Ten.
Yeah, well, and I mean, and again, it's not that we're not fans of Penn State or other teams. Like, it's the fact, like, this is a business, and so we're buying low and selling high, and that these are the positions that made the most sense.
Well, and on this one, a lot of it happens in the second half of the season, where
it really does.
A lot of this could move,
which was different than our Big 12 and SEC one. I feel like those ones had some like week 2, week 4 stuff that looked promising, and so this one might go longer.
Yeah, that's why I might be, if the OU Michigan game or the Texas Ohio State game really moves either of those, I might want to take profit right away to not be in this position where late October, mid-November, all of these teams start crossing over, and some of these contracts are going to really move up and some of them are just going to tank, and I'd rather not be in the position to be, like we said, we don't want two teams to have to win the same game for our contracts to like work for us. We want to take profit when we can. The goal is to profit on all 5, no matter how much profit.
Correct. Exactly.
Right. Yep. And ideally somehow end up with possibly both teams going in that are in the championship game at the end, if it can work out that way, but it doesn't have to. Like,
no,
it doesn't have to at all. Like if the Ohio State contract moves a lot in the second week against Texas, off it goes. Even if we think they have a real chance at winning the championship game, I'd rather take profit than wait around and see if Jeremiah Smith gets hurt or if Julian Sayin tweaks an ankle or, it's take profit when you can is kind of what we're after.
The only exception to that, what would be best for us if USC plays Michigan in the Big Ten championship. And then in which case, if both are at 50 cents on that day, then we'd have to think long and hard if we just, what I would probably do at that point, unless Michigan is heavily favored for whatever reason, I would sell the Michigan and then just hope USC wins. Because that one, if it went from 6 cents to $1, it would be the biggest return by far. So, but that'd be pretty crazy. That means we really had to have exited Ohio State, Oregon, and Indiana one at the really right time, hopefully, for that to happen.
So our goal isn't to get the most that each it's impossible to get the most that each contract can offer.
No,
but we don't have a lower limit yet. We haven't decided that 10% moves enough. Like we aren't really sure. We're just going to play it by ear week over week and decide. I mean, some of these contracts have already moved. Like we're still in August, and some of these have, like, I can't remember which ones, but I was looking earlier today, and some of these have already moved in our favor, like 14, 15%, 17%. If that was a stock, most people would be like, that's great. In 2 weeks, you could sell that right now, but we're waiting to see what's going to even happen in the season here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we don't have a rule of thumb like 25% is enough or 30% is enough, but I guess we'll get a feel for what these games look like. And as the season progresses, we might find out a 20% move on one of these teams, given the way the season's unfolding. That's plenty to get out of that team.
And for me, it really depends on the team, right? So Oregon, Ohio State, is that we got it at 32 cents. So I'd want that to be like 50 cents would be like the ideal for me. Like so if it goes up to that after the time, I'd get out of it at that point.
Right.
The USC, because we got it at 10, that to me now is like, if it gets to 20 cents or something like, then that's when I'd want to get out of it. Right. Because that's like,
that's a bigger move than the Ohio State move. Right.
Exactly. So, and 20 cents is possible for someone like them, like with their schedule, would be easier to get to than there's a lot of moving parts here, but
we're trying to get net positive on all of them. I guess we can lose on at least a couple. if we hit big enough on the other ones.
I didn't realize this. This will be something we might do for next year, or maybe we'll do it in the NFL. So we've got SEC championship conference winners. We've already done that show. But Oklahoma price was 6 cents.
Yeah.
Okay. And they've got Michigan game 2. Michigan game 2. We've got them at 6 cents too for the Big Ten championship. So whoever wins that game, that one we're going to have to look hard about if we unload it at that point, because Oklahoma could get to 12, or like Michigan get to 12,
right?
That week 2, and then whichever one. So that's something. If we could look at the NFL schedule and be like, an NFC championship or AFC championship or something, and then people will play like a couple of early game. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't work as well in the NFL as it does for college, but like that'd be an interesting way to look at this. Like going back at it, or like the TCU and like UNC or something, right? Because we know they play the first week.
Yeah.
Like if we had the TCU,
people might just be itching for something.
Yeah, I don't know. So
yeah, the OU. Okay, so the OU Michigan. So we have them at the same number.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And they play week 2. So like whoever wins.
Do you have it in front of you? What do you know? How close we have Ohio State and Texas?
Yeah, Ohio State is 32 cents and Texas 22.
It's a big difference.
It is. So because if Texas wins, then that could go to 30 or 40 cents,
Yeah. But the OU Michigan one's fascinating because they are the same number.
Yes.
That we picked them up at. So
so either way, it's going to go up.
Well, we don't know though. We're assuming.
Yeah,
we're assuming there's enough sentiment that people value that win.
We've got the same thing with LSU Clemson.
Yeah, but we don't have Clemson.
We do.
Oh, we do have Clemson. Yes, we do.
We do. 7 cents, baby.
Yeah. And they're the same number.
No. Clemson 7 cents, LSU's 12. But either way, still.
Right. So that's another one where that out of conference game. I didn't realize we picked up both of them.
Yep. I didn't realize we had so many ACC ones.
Well, the ACC is so well. That's our next episode. So tune back in for that one. Let's hold off on getting into ACC stuff. All right. So those are the 5 we have in the Big Ten. We're attempting to exit all at a profit. We don't have a bottom limit. So sounds like, Jeff, you're more in, it depends who the team is and how much profit we think we can squeeze out of it. For teams that started higher, like Ohio State, it sounds like 15, 17% sounds like enough, 20%. But for something much lower like Michigan, we might hold on to double or triple the money.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
yeah, because that's my roughly what it sort of depends on, obviously, a lot of stuff that happened, with other teams and everything. But like that's sort of my thought process, right? Because again, if it's like it's $100 bet, typically if you're doing the point spread or something like that, it's double, right? So you get back $200.
Yeah.
If you win, minus the juice or, something like that. So, but around, the 100%, right? So it's around double. So that's sort of in the back of my head. Now, because we got Ohio State at 32 cents, it's going to be tough for it to get to 64. Right. I think, I don't know. But that's because again, that was only like at kickoff for this Seattle NFC one that I'm Rams that I'm basing it off of. But yeah. But yes. But in short, it's,
And we tried to find historic data. This has only been available for a year. So last year they offered these conference winning contracts, but that was it. There's no data older than that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we couldn't really pull that data. So we're building our first knowledge base this year. So as these things fluctuate throughout the year, we'll find out if any of our theory is valid. And I guess what we will find out is what a functioning theory moving forward will be. So we're going to find out if these out of conference games make a difference. We're going to find out if accumulating conference wins against weaker teams does anything. We'll find out if those in conference games against 2 powerhouse teams, what that does. We're going to find all of this out, and that will inform next year because we'll have all of this data to look back at. So we're kind of flying blind here, but we're just telling you how we're going to try this, and we'll see what happens.
Yep.
All right. You got anything else?
No, that's good. I'm looking forward to the Big Ten. I'm looking forward to the football season starting.
Oh, man, I can't wait. All right. Well, if you're still with us, we appreciate you checking out the video. If you like what we have going on and you'd like to support us, A like and a subscribe will go a long way, and we'd super appreciate it. So for Jeff Dover, I'm John Barber, and that's your Saturday versus Sunday podcast.